Hello folks, welcome to the canal channel Jose. Today we're going to show you an idea how to replace the radio or the stereo on your 2007 to 2011 Toyota Camry. And this is not the one with the navigation system. This is just the radio with a CD player. So if you need to replace it because you're having trouble with it or you just want to take it off for some reason, we're going to show you how you can do that. And for this task, all you need is a 10mm socket, an extension, a ratchet, and a Phillips screwdriver, basic stuff. So we're gonna be doing it for a 2007 to 2011 Toyota Camry. With that said, let's jump right into it. We're gonna have to secure a tire from our car to whatever angle is gonna roll, and we're gonna put the parking brake on, and we're gonna have to put it in neutral to remove the center console or move it out of the way. So to remove the radio or the stereo from our Camry, what we have to do is we have to pull this plastic here off as well. We have to remove this bottom piece from here because we're going to have to remove this compartment to expose bolts that are holding the structure into the dash, the structure. And we have to remove the two bends on the top. But to start, we remove this one and this one, they just pull straight out. So what we have to do also, we have to remove the bends on the top, and for that we're going to pull it from one side straight out and from the other side straight out, and then slowly pull them away because there's going to be a wire or a connector attached to this guy for the flashers and for the hour and minute for the clock. Now that we have pulled them off and we turn them a little bit, we can disconnect it right here. That's the connector right there. We have removed the two side plastics, the upper bends, disconnected them. So now what we do is we grab the shift knob and we turn it just like you're loosening a bolt or a nut and take it completely off. The reason we have to take off the shift knob off is because this plastic has to come up. It pops off and it comes up, and the knob is not going to let us take it out because this plastic, this compartment right here has to come out too to expose two bolts that are here under in the back. There's two up here that we already can get to, but there's two more in the bottom that we cannot get to them unless we remove this. So for that, now we can pop this off. But before you start popping this plastic off, what we have to do is we have to shift this, the shifter into drive. And for that, you would just open the key, don't turn on the engine, and then press the brake, and then you shift it to drive because that we have to pop it off and bring it out of there so we are able to expose to get this out. But that's why we secure the tires and put the parking brake so it doesn't roll while doing this shifting. So now shift it to drive and pop this plastic off. So then we have to open our console, and then remember that once you pop this plastic open or out of here, there's a connector underneath here. Don't just pull it off. We're gonna have to disconnect it so we can pull this plastic out of here and we get to that other piece over there. Now that you pop it up, you pull it a little bit off, careful, and there's a connector that you have to disconnect. And then it's gonna expose the shifter, and then we can get to the plastic over there. Now that we have removed and disconnected that plastic from this, we can remove it out of the way so we can get to that compartment. So now to remove this plastic, we have to remove this Phillips screw and this other Phillips screw on this side, and then that's going to allow us to pull this unit out. But remember, there's cables or connectors on the back. So you pull them off, get it on an angle, disconnect them so you can take it completely out of there. So then we can expose the two bottom bolts for this unit here. So now that we have taken off those two screws, we just pull it straight out, careful. And there's two connectors in the back. We gotta take them off. So up here, there's one, two 10mm bolts. And then on the bottom, there's one, two 10mm bolts that hold this structure against the dash frame. So two on the top, two on the bottom. Once we remove those four 10mm bolts, the structure can come out, and there's going to be connectors on the back that you have to disconnect to be able to get this structure out of here. Now we remove the bottom bolts, 10mm first. When you're removing these bolts, don't take them all completely out with a tool. Leave a couple threads in there because you don't know where they're going to end up in the dash. So you can actually grab them and unscrew them by hand, and you can have control so they don't drop anywhere. Now that we have taken that one off, we take the other one off, and then we come up to the top. Now we remove that 10mm bolts. Four 10mm bolts, they're the same length. Doesn't matter where you put the bottom or top ones. We remove this. Now we can pull the stereo out, and then we disconnect the wiring that goes into it. So now that we have pulled the stereo out of there, it has this tab or this point and that point that secures here and there. So now you gotta pull it straight out a little bit. It's gonna look like it's jamming there, but once you remove the bolts, you can pull them off. Both sides have the same securing point. Now we can disconnect the wires so we can start replacing the stereo. So now that you have disconnected all the wires or cables from the stereo, we have to disconnect that one for the climate control. So we disconnect that and we can remove the stereo completely from the dash. So our new stereo has no climate control. We're gonna have to transfer that into that guy. So we don't need this. We need that guy here or here over there. So for that, we're gonna reuse or we're gonna transfer the climate control from our old stereo. And for that, we're gonna have to remove 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screws. Two of the black ones go on the climate control, the chrome ones or shiny ones go on the stereo. The reason we remove these structures or the brackets is because these two have to separate to transfer this guy to our new stereo. What you have to do is you have to slide it and then pull away. You see that groove and that groove, they go into those tabs. You see, they're locked in. So if you have those brackets on the side, they're not gonna be able to slide and come off. That's why we broke it down to this part. So now the old stereo goes away. We put the new stereo, but we put the brackets in. The new stereo is coming in. New stereo to the car. We present them, slide them, locked in. Now we put the brackets on the side. There's the old radio. We have that new one with the climate control attached to it. Just remember how those brackets were when you take them off. Take a picture of it if you don't remember. So now we can start putting it into the car. Now what we do is we set it here. We connect every connector to the radio. We try the radio and the climate control to make sure that everything works properly before we install it, and we bolting it down. Because if something is not connected right or something's happening here, we can address it right now. So now that we have connected everything on the radio and the control, climate control, what we do is we turn on everything. We open our key, turn on our radio, volume works, switch it from FM to FM2, AM, SIG. Now it grabs stations too. Before it wouldn't grab any station or the volume wouldn't work. So now it works. So we work, that one's working. Fan. This is working too. So now we install the radio back in, we bolted it down, and then we can start putting the plastics around it back like that, how it was. So we got a working radio now. Now that we have put it and set it in place, we put the 4 10mm bolts, 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom, and tighten them down. So now that we have set our radio in place, everything works good. We have put 1, 2, 3, 4 10mm bolts, tightening them down. Now we can put the middle piece that goes right down here, put the 2 Phillips screws in, tighten them, so we can continue with the rest. So for us to put this piece back in, remember we have to connect this one and this connector with the cables, so that way you just don't put it in there, push it in, tightening it down, and then you never connected the cable. So we connected them, and then we put it in, secure it. Now that we set it in there and it's flush and everything's lined up, we put the 2 Phillips screws back in there on the edges. So now that we have put the radio, the bottom piece, secure it, we can put the bands down to this dash again, and we have to connect the connector, and we have to go slow and push them in so they guide and the clips fall in place. We connected the hazardous lights to the wiring. We pushed the bands straight in, set them, they're back in there. The flashers are working. So now we can continue with the center console. To set our center console, the shifter cover, what we do is we set it over, we connect the cable, we put it down, and then we make it fall in and guiding it, feeling for it. Don't just try to force it in. So now once you get the connector on and you put it over it, and make sure the shifter is on drive with your open key. And first thing, you have to line up two hooks in the front. You feel for it. They gotta line up in 2 holes here. So the console, once it's connected, you're gonna guide it over the shifter, and you're gonna have to line up first right here. You see this opening and that opening right there? Well, these two hooks or those two tabs have to line up into those holes first. So you drop it on an angle, line up those by hand, and then once you get those in there, you drop the console down, guiding it to the back, forcing it down slowly. So first, those two have to go in. So now that we have put the center console back in, we grab our shifter knob, we put it in, we start turning it, screw it in, and then we get it to a point where it's pretty tight. There it is. Once we get it there, we put it on parking, and then we got just two plastics left to put in. So now we have put the vents, the radio, everything's back in, secure everything, the center console. So now what we do is we grab one of these plastics and we make sure it fits on the right side. We present it, as you can see, and then those get pushed in and they just lock with these points, with this pink side and this other pink side. These are just guiding tabs. So we put one and then we put the other one. So they have sides. So now let's open the key. Let's try our radio. Volume. We got volume, stations. We got signal now for the stations. Before we couldn't get any station. So that's good. FM, FM1, AM. Okay. So now AC or air conditioning. Lights turn on. Good. So now the flashers, they work fine. Radio works now. So because we have no volume and no station, so we had a useless radio. Now we got a working radio again. Well, folks, hopefully this video was useful and helpful on how to replace the radio stereo on your 2007, 2011 Toyota Camry. And pretty simple, you just have to remove a couple plastics out of the way so you can get to the main bolts that hold this structure into the dash. And then we have to remove the climate control buttons too because it's attached to it. But you can transfer everything to the new stereo. So pretty simple, just basic tools. Just take your time and you'll do a great job. So with that said, folks, for our friends who are watching our video, haven't subscribed to our channel, please subscribe. If you like a video, give us thumbs up, share it, and we'll see you soon with more videos here en el canal del Chano Jose.